Major altcoin bounces are happening right now as we see more reversal signals stacking up. Let's take a look into what's happening with this altcoin chart here because we've had a very rough week in crypto as Bitcoin has sank below 59 before below 60,000, excuse me. But what could be happening with crypto right now? I'm going to show you some interesting signals here that tells us that there is a likelier chance we're going to be seeing a reversal here in the crypto markets. This is Total 3 and this is on the weekly time frame here, and Total 3 has actually broke down from this rising wedge pattern that I have warned you guys about. Even though for 2 weeks straight there has been a fake out for the bears because the candle wicks have just wicked below the pattern with the candle bodies staying inside the pattern. But this week's dump was just too intense for the altcoins as we have seen Bitcoin sink below $60,000. So let's take a look into what could be happening next because by the end of this video, you're going to get a pretty good idea of where altcoins are likelier to head next, as well as some cautious signs to be paying attention to. This is Total 3, and Total 3 is basically altcoin market excluding Ethereum, and Total 3 has basically hit its price target of this rising wedge pattern, which would have been about 660,000. And I've talked about this pattern with you guys since the last time I have done a weekly projection last week. So take a look into how I have seen this coming, and if you at least got a warning that this was coming, this would not have been a complete surprise. Or if you did not see this coming, as I would not have been before when I was a new trader in this market, it would have completely caught me by surprise and I would have just been panicking like the rest of the markets that were dumping altcoins, that was dumping Bitcoin. Now, we are seeing quite a bit of bullish divergence here on this weekly time frame for Total 3. So we're going to be taking a look into what's happening here because bullish divergence usually tells you that there's going to be a bounce coming. So that is basically what this altcoin chart is saying, and there is likelier to be a bounce. Of course, we're all just talking about probabilities here. Nothing in this market is 100%, and everything I'm saying here is just purely my speculations and opinions. It is not financial advice. But that is what it looks like right now. And it still has yet to hit that weekly 200 SMA. Bitcoin already has. And we're still seeing Bitcoin dominance on its way down. So if this actually continues, then that could be quite good for the altcoins. And of course, if Bitcoin reverses from here, then that is going to be also good for the altcoins. However, I have talked to you guys about a potential bearish scenario for Bitcoin that could affect the altcoins. Check out my video on WorldCoin that I just did today, going into more detail about what's happening with Bitcoin. Let's go ahead and take a look into a few pieces of news before diving into some altcoin setups and gainers, because those are going to be some very interesting scenarios to be looking at. Okay. First piece of news here, it says it's by Coinpedia. It says top altcoins to buy now ahead of crypto market rally. So this is still talking about a potential rally that is coming, even after this drop. And I stand on the side of this article because I think there is a likelier rally that is going to be coming this year, because of the things that could be happening, the Clarity Act, as well as still potential for the Federal Reserve to cut rates, even though that is probably not as likely as the Clarity Act that could be giving the market a boost. Now, let's take a look into what this article is talking about. So, based on this article, it's mentioning Hyperliquid. I have seen that to be pretty resistant to the drop that we have been seeing in Bitcoin. I would still not bet against Bitcoin in the long run if it has more downside to go. But these are some exceptions that I am seeing as well. I've seen Hyperliquid to be resisting this downtrend. It's also bringing up Aerodrome, according to this article. And then based on this article here, it is also mentioning BitTensor, Venice, Render, RWA tokens. So what do you guys think about some of these coins that's mentioning? I have done analyses on some of these coins based on their chart setups. You guys let me know down in the comment section below. We're going to take a look into crypto bubbles here and going to be taking a look into a few altcoin setups that are in massive gains right now, despite the week that we have seen. So first of all is Beat, which is AUDIERA. And then this is up almost 60% in a day. SIREN, it is up over 50%. And Zcash, it's up over 23%. Now, Zcash is a bigger coin, so let's go ahead and take a look into each of these altcoin setups, and we're going to see what's going on, what could be happening in the next couple of hours to even weeks in these setups. Now, if you guys are new to trading this market, make sure to continue watching this channel because you will learn how to read the charts as well as the macro indicators that help stack the odds in your favor. I was just in your shoes 7 years ago, and I plan to be here for many more years with you guys. Let's go ahead and take a look into what's happening with Beat, which is AUDIERA. And Beat currently is up over 50%, over 56% here. And this is on the weekly time frame for AUDIERA, and we had a huge weekly candle here, despite that major bearish candle that we have seen in Bitcoin, a lot of the altcoins as well. So what could be happening with Beat here? This is still a relatively new coin that just came into the market in October of last year. It is in overbought territory on the weekly time frame, approaching 80. Let's take a look into the daily time frame here for AUDIERA. And on the daily time frame here, it is in very overbought territory, so something to be cautious of. This is also why you guys gotta learn technical analysis because it will help get rid of FOMO. Because the sooner you see these signals that tells you to be careful because things may just turn around, then you'll be more careful and not FOMO into some of these really huge green candles as I would have before I got my TA in check. Daily time frame. Let's go ahead and take a look into a shorter term time frame here. 6 hour time frame. There's still no particular pattern here that we're seeing. 6 hour time frame. It has actually invalidated bearish divergence here on the 6 hour time frame. So basically the RSI is showing strength here on the shorter term time frame. So this is actually looking pretty good on the shorter term time frame. Let's take a look back into the weekly time frame here, because on the weekly time frame, if it approaches some of these previous resistance levels, I am seeing some at $4.35 as well as about $5. So potential resistance at those levels, something to be paying attention to. Let's take a look into SIREN, which is the next gainer, huge gainer that I have seen on crypto bubbles, and see what's happening with SIREN here. This is still a relatively new coin. Weekly time frame here, there is a double bottom pattern that is playing out right now. Resistance to be about $1.40. If this double bottom plays out and it breaks to the upside, which it has a higher chance of doing, because double bottoms are bullish patterns that have a higher chance of breaking to the upside. Now, even though these technical analysis patterns have a higher chance of breaking in one direction, always have to mind the lower chance that they could still break in another direction. That is just good risk management there. Now, if it's actually able to break out of this double bottom pattern here to the upside, the price target would be roughly $2 and just right above $2.30 there. Price targets are estimate only. There could be more or less in the case of these altcoins. Does depend a lot on what happens with Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin actually reverses from here, then this could be very good for a lot of these altcoins. And I think Bitcoin right now is looking likelier to be reversing from here. Let's take a look into the daily time frame for SIREN USDT. Daily time frame here, it is basically trying to retest that resistance at about $1.40. No other particular pattern here that I'm really seeing. It's just that double bottom pattern on the weekly time frame. If it actually comes back up to reach some of these, retest some of these resistances it has formed before, which is still a pretty far shot right now, but if it comes back to 315, big if, then it could be forming some type of a cup and handle, but that is still too early to say. It's very speculative. Let's go ahead and take a look into Zcash, which is a huge coin that is up over 20% today. Zcash on the monthly time frame, it still has a lot of data. And on the monthly time frame here, there is bearish divergence that is playing out. What is bearish divergence? It's basically where you see a higher high, higher or equal high on the price action chart, but you see an equal or lower high on the RSI, which is basically telling you that there is contradicting strength or a contradicting signal, because you see higher high on the price action chart, higher or equal high, but you see a equal or lower high, in this case lower, that tells you that there is weakness in the trend. And that red candle came very early this month. It had a huge drop down to $250 below that. And let's see how this drop is going to play out, because the bearish divergence told you that it was going to drop, and it did. This is why you guys got to pay attention to these technical analysis patterns. More so than a lot of the news I have seen out there. I have told you guys about this pattern here. This is on the daily time frame. And you guys can search my previous Zcash analysis for how I have seen this coming. This was a rising wedge pattern. Rising wedges are bearish patterns that have a higher chance of breaking to the downside. Price target for this one was $460. Price targets are estimates only. There could be more or less, in this case, a lot more. Down to $250 almost. After a basically breakout of this falling wedge pattern, basically happened to the T here. All right, so let's see what's happening with Zcash on the weekly time frame, because this could potentially be a cup and handle scenario, probably more seen on the monthly time frame. If it comes back up here to retest $750 again, that's a big if right now still. Let's take a look into a shorter term time frame and see what could be happening with Zcash on a shorter term. Shorter term time frame, oversold bounce on the 6 hour, and this potentially could be a rising wedge pattern on the 6 hour. So that is what could be looking like right now. This is not a validated rising wedge pattern, but if Zcash cannot break out of this upward trend line on the 6 hour time frame, then it could come back down here to form a rising wedge pattern on the bottom trend line. So let's see if that happens. That is just an estimate. Now, if you guys are looking to diversify your funds or crypto across different exchanges, as I personally do, I don't keep all my crypto on one exchange after seeing what has happened with FTX. I always look for different exchanges to diversify my funds. If that is you, I have referral links to OKX as well as Gemini, which are bigger exchanges that are still offering sign-up bonuses. If you sign up using my referral link below, I will get a commission. So thank you very much and support my channel. check that out if that is something you're looking to do. My standpoint with exchanges is I don't personally leave more than what I need on exchanges. They are a tool for making money, but there's also a risk in putting the money on the exchanges. So I don't leave more than what I need to. Alright, so this basically also wraps up for today's video. If you have found value in this content, make sure to consider joining my channel as a member. As a member, you will get to request any altcoin updates in the ones that I usually do on my channel, and I'll get back to requests within the very next day. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.